All right, you are right on the verge of discovering what really happened, and the moment you realize it, you will cut all ties with them for good. What makes this crazy is that they haven't caught on that you're already aware. They genuinely believe their cunning setup is still active, just waiting to catch you off guard. Yet you never fell for it. You casually bypassed their scheme without even trying. That simple, effortless step completely dismantled everything they arranged. They constructed a whole trap. Indeed, they engineered something elaborate. They carefully mapped it out. Yet without conscious effort, you completely shattered it. Let's dive right in, because the energy I'm sensing here is genuinely giving me chills. Take a moment to picture a specific person currently around you. Think of someone who acts just a bit too polished, overly flawless, and constantly claims they could never be capable of anything wrong. You know exactly who I mean. That individual who always knows the perfect words, whom everyone perceives as remarkably kind, attentive, and organized. Yes, that exact individual is drawing a massive amount of focus right now. And the message surfacing is that everything they worked to construct, their polished persona and public standing, is on the verge of collapsing, and you'll be right there watching as it unravels. Only you'll already be steps ahead. You will already know. You will hold the full reality of the situation in your hands, long before anyone else even starts to suspect a thing. Here is the reality of what has been happening behind the scenes. This individual has been keeping a significant secret from you. This isn't just some minor detail. It is a major revelation. It's an issue they went out of their way to conceal deeply. They were fully convinced you would remain completely in the dark. The only reason they felt so secure was because they've been putting on a complete act directly to your face this entire time. They act remarkably warm. They project generosity. They make a point to check up on you. They express precisely what you want to hear. They give you every reason to believe they are entirely reliable. However, beneath that surface persona, out of sight and behind your back, a completely different individual exists. This is someone who has been dishonest with you from the start. They're someone who has likely siphoned value out of your life. That could mean your finances, your valuable hours, your emotional bandwidth, your chances at success, or even your standing with others. The most striking detail is that you sense this at a core level all along. You instinctively knew something was wrong, even if you couldn't pinpoint the exact issue. You're familiar with that subtle sensation. I know you recognize that persistent background hum in your mind that you couldn't quite identify. Perhaps you've spent nights awake dissecting past interactions, wondering why an exchange felt so unnatural. You might have even experienced guilt for doubting their motives, simply because on paper they appear to be such a wonderful person. They position themselves as the go-to figure everyone seeks out for guidance. They are constantly posting online about compassion, faithfulness, and high moral standards. Yet herein lies the central issue. Individuals who are perpetually broadcasting their virtues and telling everyone how wholesome they are typically do so to cover up something dark underneath. It is nothing more than a disguise. Right now, that disguise is beginning to slide out of place, regardless of whether they realize it yet. My sense is that this person has lost all true self-awareness. They lack any genuine core identity. They've invested so much effort into calculating how to behave, how to win approval, how to gain trust, and how to secure validation, status, and focus that they have completely detached from their authentic self. Every action is a calculated maneuver. It is entirely a theatrical show. What makes it alarming is that they have refined this facade so well, they occasionally fall for their own deception. Yet beneath that flawless exterior resides a profoundly self-absorbed individual. When forced to choose, they prioritize exclusively their own needs, public perception, personal ease, and upcoming agenda. To them, you are merely a pawn in their strategy. You might have served a practical function or provided emotional utility, but in their eyes, you were never treated as a real person. At this point, the dynamic takes a fascinating turn as the trajectory shifts completely. You took a subtle action without even intentionally planning to do so. At some point recently, you began to distance yourself. Perhaps you limited what you shared with them, or maybe you began picking up on small contradictions and quietly retreated without making a scene. Perhaps you simply ceased offering them the emotional responses they depended on receiving from you. That minute change in your behavior was precisely what shattered their blueprint, because their strategy required you to remain predictable, gullible, accessible, and oblivious. The instant you subtly began recognizing their true motives, the snare they constructed around you began imploding from within. They are completely baffled by what occurred. They remain under the delusion that they are steering the narrative. They assume you are still the exact same compliant person you were 6 months or a year ago when this pattern began. However, you have evolved beyond that state. The divide between what they presume you understand and the actual reality you've uncovered will become pivotal over the coming days, because full exposure is imminent. This isn't a mere possibility. The gears are actively turning right now. Secrets that were buried are rapidly coming to light. Discussions are unfolding behind the scenes without this individual's knowledge. Mutual acquaintances are beginning to connect the dots, cross-reference their experiences, and quietly inquire whether others noticed red flags as well. Once that momentum builds, it becomes unstoppable. It resembles tugging at a single loose string on a garment held together purely by artificial pressure. The entire structure begins disintegrating, and they are powerless to arrest the fall. Every aggressive attempt they make to manipulate the narrative only highlights that they have something to hide. I recognize this sounds overwhelming, but delivering this message is crucial, regardless of what actions this person took. The entire magnitude of their betrayal will soon come to light, and it will far exceed what you currently anticipate. While you might be preparing for a single issue, the reality is vastly larger. It could tie into financial matters. It might involve another unexpected individual operating in the shadows. It points to a recurring habit. It isn't an isolated mistake. Confirming this is far from the first time they have targeted someone this way. When the full reality hits you, an internal transformation will take place. You'll experience an initial wave of shock, followed almost instantly by a profound sense of liberation, as though you are finally releasing a long-held breath and watching a thick mist dissipate from your path. Reflecting on recent months or even further back, clarity will wash over you as everything suddenly falls into place. You'll finally understand why their presence left you so exhausted. You'll realize why every scenario was subtly engineered to serve their personal interests. You'll see clearly why your own achievements were consistently minimized or redirected to center around them instead. Pay close attention to this next point, as it carries immense weight for you. You won't engage in a heated confrontation or the kind of explosive argument you might currently envision. What unfolds instead will be far more subtle and significantly more impactful. You will choose to quietly walk away. Armed with total clarity, you'll leverage that understanding to pull back with calm dignity. You will offer no grand parting statement, no lengthy justifications, and zero emotional payoff for them. That complete silence will unsettle them far more deeply than any conflict ever could. To explain further, individuals driven by image and manipulation thrive on emotional reactions. They need a reaction. They require conflict. Chaos is the arena where they flourish. Drama provides them the playground to twist narrative details, adopt a victim role, and paint themselves as unfairly targeted. When you starve them of feedback entirely, they're left powerless, and they will immediately feel that void. They will sense the altered energy even if they can't articulate why. Expect them to initiate contact more frequently. They will display an unnaturally warm, overly attentive attitude to compensate. This stems from an intuitive awareness that your connection has fundamentally changed, even if they haven't logically processed it yet. That is simply standard human psychology at work. It's also worth highlighting why you encountered this situation, because it wasn't arbitrary, nor does it reflect a personal flaw. On the contrary, it stems from your nature. You are someone who inherently extends trust and grants others the benefit of the doubt. When something feels wrong, your instinct is to seek logical, generous explanations. Your mind doesn't automatically jump to assuming malicious deceit. Dishonesty isn't how your mind operates. Because you don't calculate deceptions, you struggle to anticipate them in others. That is far from a weakness. No. It is actually a reflection of genuine moral character. However, it allows manipulative individuals to remain in your sphere longer than they would around someone who is inherently distrustful. The encouraging reality is that opportunity is rapidly disappearing, as your intuitive awareness is sharpening significantly. You are picking up on subtle patterns you once dismissed, and once your eyes are opened to them, you cannot unsee them. That is your present stage, even if you currently feel caught in a phase of quiet suspicion without concrete evidence. You are far closer to total clarity than you suspect. Let me explore what lies ahead, because this narrative goes far beyond someone's downfall. It is about the expansive new reality that awaits you once they are removed. This phase is often overlooked, so it deserves careful reflection. When this individual no longer holds space in your life, and that chapter closes entirely, it won't leave an empty void. Instead, it will resemble a massive release of built-up pressure, revealing just how much vital energy you were unknowingly burning to manage their moods, cushion the relationship, monitor your reactions, and filter your speech in their presence. That entire reservoir of energy will return directly to you, and what unfolds when you reclaim that personal power is consistently remarkable. Fresh possibilities begin materializing almost instantly. They will show up with remarkable swiftness. A career advancement, a creative venture, or someone who has been quietly present in your background will emerge, offering a level of genuine value that contrasts sharply with anything your former associate provided. If your tie to this person was romantic, The next relationship you enter will feel like night and day, showing you what true alignment and genuine mutual support feel like in practice, rather than mere words. If this pertains to a professional or business partnership, a similar pattern applies. A new collaborator will enter who authentically supports your growth and doesn't require you to diminish yourself to bolster their ego. Here is an additional truth that warrants deep consideration. This individual, despite all their maneuvering, possesses no genuine self-knowledge. At a foundational level, they've devoted so many years to curating public perception that their core identity has essentially withered away. Indeed, and when their constructed facade breaks and people recognize the disconnect between their public persona and private actions, the impact on them will be severe, given that their entire worth rests upon that illusion. Shattering that image isn't merely humiliating for them, it threatens their entire internal stability. You might even experience a brief wave of compassion. You may feel sympathy when that unraveling occurs. That response is entirely fine. Yes, it doesn't place any obligation on you. It does not mean you should contact them. It doesn't mean any of this is your responsibility to repair. It simply reflects your empathetic nature. You maintain empathy even for those who failed to earn it. Acknowledge that feeling, honor it briefly, and then release it completely. Their self-destruction is not your burden to bear. It was an inevitable outcome. Indeed, you simply happened to be the observer who recognized it ahead of everyone else. There is another key detail that surfaced during this reading. Others around you will begin